Hello everyone and welcome back to another album review, and in this video I'm going to review Hobo Johnson Alienates His Fanbase by Hobo Johnson. Okay, so this is quite weird. I wasn't really expecting this to happen. So, about a month ago, Hobo Johnson released a brand new album called The Revenge of Hobo Johnson. And in this album there was the outro which no one took seriously, no one took into consideration, and in this he basically was announcing his brand new album with the title Hobo Johnson Alienates His Fanbase. And it even had a few snippets with supposed tracks for this album, and everyone thought that this was just a joke. And I'm pretty sure that no one would believe that he would go this joke this far, because he actually made an album about all of this. A 20-minute, really short album, but it's still there, it exists. And the main question everyone had was, why? Hobo Johnson seems to put himself at a downfall for no apparent reason, but it really feels like he tries his best to own his career, and that definitely comes from a side of a person who definitely has some issues. And I mean, it has always been apparent, he has been open with his lyrics about his mental health issues, and this is something that also happens a lot with this album in particular. So this is the thing with this album. Apparently this is a joke, this is a parody album that was never meant to be taken seriously. First of all, the issue is that none of the jokes land over here, like nothing really feels funny about this album whatsoever. Instead, I ended up feeling pretty uneasy with this whole experience. This is definitely the one Hobo Johnson album that made me feel the most uncomfortable. The thing is that this is the only thing that I can really give props to with this album, is that it truly made me feel uncomfortable. And the thing is that for some occasions I really end up stumbling upon those albums that feel like a huge joke, that feel like a parody, and maybe because of their vile and twisted sense of humor and instrumentation, I might end up feeling really uncomfortable and really finding the experience weirdly satisfying. Unfortunately, apart from that, this is not really a good reason for me feeling that this is positive, the fact that this album makes me feel uneasy, because one of the characteristics that makes me feel uneasy is my concern towards Hobo Johnson's mental state, because it really feels like it's deteriorating. It shows the most in this album in particular, which leads to the point I'm trying to make, is that for an album that is supposed to be a joke, it feels much more serious than it should be, because it really seems that he uses his deteriorating mentality as some kind of joke, something to be laughed at. And there are occasions with the lyrics where it seems that he doesn't want help, he doesn't really care at all whatsoever. And truth be told, this album seems pretty effortless, like there's not that much going on to it. It's really apparent that this album was completely rushed and that he never took it seriously. It really shows since it came out this fast after his previous installment. Now the thing is that there are actually some instrumentals that in my opinion are much more interesting compared to what he did with his previous album, which was mostly acoustic ballads, which were kinda forgettable. This album goes more into the abstract hip-hop and electronic side of things, and honestly tracks like Jeff Besos. It has a nice instrumental, I like the instrumentation on this track and the beat. However, it really shows that he didn't put that much effort to it, because the mixing is not really that good, especially when it comes to the vocals. The track All I See Is Poop, for some reason it really made me kinda uneasy. I think it's mainly due to its minimalism, there's not a lot going on to it, but I don't know, it was a bit of a weird experience. I don't really know how to feel about this. We have tracks like What's the AQI of this Bone Grip and Sorry I Can't Look You in the Eyes, which have decent instrumentals but are extremely short and underdeveloped. We have also the track Drake This, which I don't really care about this track at all, not even like conceptually. And then we have the track Villian of Himself, which for me it's my favorite track when it comes to the instrumental. It is a really haunting experience. This track legitimately has a pretty disturbing instrumental, but what's certainly mostly disturbing is Hobo Johnson's vocals, where he screams filled with compression and distortion, and honestly it feels like the most self-hatred track he has ever made, where you can truly feel his downfall and where it becomes quite concerning. We also have the god-awful Why Socialism by Albert Einstein, which also makes the idea of this album being a joke fall flat in its face, because it's like, are you actually serious about your statements on socialism and your criticisms on capitalism? Which does not happen in just this song, it happens in other occasions in this album as well, and it has happened with previous occasions, with previous albums as well. So am I supposed to take this one seriously as well? But wasn't this album supposed to be a joke? The issue with this is that it paints this idea that people with left-leaning ideas end up being a bunch of pseudo-intellectuals that just ended up sounding pretty stupid to a general audience, and basically the only thing that it does is weaponize reactionaries and conservatives even more. That's how I perceive this. It might be far from the truth, but honestly, all of those statements that he does with his stances on politics seem somewhat uncharitable because it mostly comes from a doomer's perspective, which also leaves me with the question what this alienation is supposed to stand for. Is it just with the badly produced and rushed music, or it really has to do with him becoming extremely uncharitable with his audience and giving zero fucks anymore about anything and anyone? We finally have an outro that is as cringy as the previous one, and in this one he also announces another album which is going to be called Hobo Johnson Loves Nature or something like that also contains snippets which in this case just sound absolutely ridiculous. So I don't know, yes, expect this album to come out in a month or so. The fall of Hobo Johnson being a fluke and coming closer to the realization that he's never going to make something like this again is the least of my concerns. I am mostly concerned with Hobo Johnson's mental state currently. For me, musically, this is still not my least favorite Hobo Johnson album. I honestly still believe that the first album was worse than this, but honestly the issue with this album is that you shouldn't really take it as a comparison. This is an album that wasn't supposed to exist. It's basically an album that seems that he made it as a joke, but you can't really perceive it as a joke. No matter how you put it, no matter how you say it, it just cannot happen. So final statement I have to make is that I hope Hobo Johnson gets better, I hope that he's okay, and yeah, I don't really know how to feel about this. This is pretty bizarre. I'm going to give Hobo Johnson Alienates his fanbase a 4+ out of 10. What's your opinion on this album? Like it, dislike it, why, and what do you want me to review next time? Let me know down in the comments. If you like, if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.